Hello, everybody, and welcome to the next episode of The Actor's Agenda. I'm Mike Manning, and I am here with
Clementine Heath.
Clementine Heath.
And I have a cold.
You do have a bit of a cold,
So
but
I'll
you're
let
really
you do most of the talking today.
well. That's fine with me. You are good at taking care of yourself when you are feeling sick. You listen to your body, so hopefully, you're gonna feel better pretty soon.
Fortunately, with these things, it has to pass. Like you can't do anything for it.
The people want to hear you. They need to know. So this
How
week,
are the Emmys?
oh, the Emmys.
Emmy Awards.
The Emmys were fantastic. I was just attending the daytime Emmys last week, over the weekend, and it was a lot of fun. I was
Big deal. You were nominated Best Supporting Actor. It was like the first award as well.
everybody in my category. Was it Robert? We had Byron James. We had Wally Kurth.
You were the youngest
And
nominated.
then we had A. Martinez, and all of them are, they have such great careers on a handful of different shows, and I respect their talent and their the roles that they have embodied over the years. And so it kind of sounds cheesy, but I was just happy to be
in many ways because
I was just happy to be invited.
You were the youngest in your category nominated. You were in the company of very seasoned actors in daytime, so I think it's such an accomplishment.
It was great.
You looked good.
Thank you. It was cool. Typically, I hate dressing up, but this one I finally have a suit that I like, and so I don't hate it as much. I have big shoulders and a small head, so when I wear suits that are too boxy, I feel like a Lego person. I feel like a little Lego man.
You looked good.
Thank you.
Yes.
Well, and one of the themes of the evening was the fact that these shows have been around for a while, a long time. Some of these 50 plus years, decades. These shows have been around. People have been in the U.S. and around the world have been inviting these shows into their living rooms and into their lives.
Gym workouts.
Yeah,
That's always at the gym. Yeah. I see you or some other friends of mine that are on the. It's funny.
Yeah, at the gym when you're on the treadmill.
Yeah.
But these
shows
have been a part of the zeitgeist for a long time.
Since before you were born.
Since way before I was born. Since before you were born.
Yeah.
And it's nice. I feel like what I'm trying to say is it reminded me of the fact that when done correctly, storytelling can reach people and become a part of their existence and sort of show people that when they turn on the TV or when they go to a theater, that there are other people going through the same things that they're going through, that it shows them a piece of the human experience that I think makes us feel a little bit less alone in the world. And right now, at a time when
soapies are entertainment, though.
But no. But you have, obviously, they make you laugh, they make you cry, they give you that escapism. But good storytelling also, shows people. It shows a slice of humanity, and it makes people feel a bit connected. And I feel like right now, when the world in some ways is more divided than ever, it's nice to feel.
Community.
I feel like I feel like now I'm part of the daytime ecosystem where a lot of these shows mean a lot to a lot of people and to the fans.
You have a big fan base.
It was nice, and so I was there for the Bay, and I was there to celebrate with my Bay family, and I loved that.
Did you catch up with any of your days?
And then my days. Some of my days cast members from when I was on Days of Our Lives were there, and I got to see the woman that played my mom, Tamara Braun, and I got to see.
Maybe they'll bring you back from the dead for the fourth time.
It's kind of not really a secret. It's kind of a running thing where on a soap you're never quite dead.
And then this week, your guest is...
The guest this week is Michael Testa.
Michael Testa, casting director.
And I'm really excited.
Chef.
And a chef. Oh yeah, he's cooked for us before.
Yeah,
he's a fantastic cook. And he's a friend. I met him over a decade ago, it had to be, when he was casting Cold Case, and then he cast Make It or Break It with my friend Cassie Skirbo. He did Ringer with Sarah Michelle Gellar. He does a ton of TV movies, Hallmark movies. I tested for Hollywood Heights way back when, and it was the first time I had tested for anything, and he was so supportive and so... He just roots for actors. I mean, he is an actor's casting director. He really wants people to do well. And I think a theme of his interview is that the casting directors are not your enemy. The casting directors are rooting for you. They have so much work to do. They want you to go in and be the answer to their prayers. They have to cast 10 roles that day. They want you to walk in and blow everybody away and get the role. And
that's a hard thing for actors to do, because I used to hate auditioning. I mean, I don't know many actors that enjoy being in the room, but now that it's been taken away from us, like, I just want to get back in the room, because it's so important for actors to understand that casting directors want you to do well. They really, really want you to do well. And you're not there to be perfect. You're there to be you and to bring your interpretation to the role, because you make the casting directors look good when you do a great audition, or you do something interesting and different and unique and that's authentic, and you stand out, and that's why casting directors will keep calling you back in, because they want to help you succeed. And I wish I had really understood that when I was younger in the beginning, when I first started out, because I was in some pretty interesting rooms with some pretty big casting directors before I had that awareness. And God, if I could do that again, if I could have a do-over again.
Yeah, no, I think
you only get one chance to make a good first impression.
No, you get one shot at it. Actually, that's a great point for anybody listening that is feeling anxious to get into the room and and they're like, oh, I need this agent, I need this, I want to meet with this casting director, I want to audition. That's great, and keep that desire to create opportunities for yourself and to get in front of the right people, but at the same time,
don't be impatient about it.
Take your time to work on your craft and get really good, and consistently, I think consistency is key. Consistently put up work that you're proud of, because you don't want to panic and not have enough time or not have the ability to put up your best audition. So I would just encourage those actors to not do it before they're ready, because we're talking about you only get one shot at a first impression. You want that casting director to see you as a good actor putting up good material right from the start, because then they'll keep calling you back in.
What I say to my clients, my actors, is if you go in and you leave it all there, you've done your job as an actor. If you can walk away feeling satisfied, you've done your job. So, getting an audition is an accomplishment. You've been selected out of potentially hundreds and hundreds of actors that have been submitted.
Well, I think
it's not about actually booking the part. It's about giving a really good audition that you can walk out of the room or send in your tape and you can feel like you did your best.
Well, and it's also, I think, I agree with you, and I think that at least for me, my perspective changed when I stopped going into, I keep saying going into the room because it's just what we've grown up with is the audition room, or putting something on tape, right? I say all that to say that my perspective changed when I stopped going into the room, or I guess in this case, putting something on tape, with the intention of, I have to book this job. Yeah. I have to do what they want. Old Mike would think, I have to do what they want to get me to book this job, and I have to give them the character that's exactly on the page, and I want to do everything I can to book this. Now, I've changed my frame of thinking to be
less controlling,
and also say, look, I am going to give them my take on the character. I get to perform for a couple minutes or however long it takes me to put something on self-tape. I get to perform a little bit today. I get to show the world, show these casting directors, show the producers, whatever, my take on the character. If they like it, great. If not, I'll find something else. And I became more in control of my character and my career and my choices. And then it enabled me to make stronger choices, which leads to more interesting characters. So I feel like it's just this cycle. George Clooney has said it, and I think Michael and I talk about this a little bit, but George Clooney said that his entire career changed when he realized that when he was walking into an audition room, he didn't have the job. If he left and he didn't have the job, his life wouldn't be any different. And so it just took the pressure off of him. And I think that that's obviously takes some time for actors to become comfortable in doing that, but I would encourage anybody listening
to have fun and play.
And free yourself. The point is, getting an audition is a win because it's a whole process, and Michael goes into that. So I'm very excited for everybody to listen to that, and hopefully you learn a lot from Michael Testa.
Yeah, he's great.
I certainly have over the years.
Yay, casting directors. They are your friend.
Casting directors are your ally in this crazy industry, and we now present to you the interview with Michael Testa.
It's the actor's agenda. Na, 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 na. It's the actor's agenda.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of The Actor's Agenda. I am your host, Mike Manning, and today my special guest is Michael Testa.
Thank you. Hello, Mr. Manning. How are you?
How are you? I don't think you've ever called me Mr.
I
Manning.
have not ever.
I didn't like it. It
No?
feels gross.
What do you want me to call you?
Just Mike.
Mike? Not Michael?
Just Mikey. Not Michael. Michael's when I'm in trouble.
But I'm Michael.
But you're
know,
Michael.
I'm a Michael, yeah.
Yeah. And I'll call you Mike when you're in trouble.
Yeah, you're one of the only two people in the world that call me Mike, by the way. Yeah.
No, I call you Michael. Or I just call you Testa.
You just call me Testa.
Actually,
yeah,
that's
everybody
true.
does that.
Yeah,
actually.
just Testa.
Like even like executives at studios and whatnot call me Testa,
Testa.
which is bizarre, but
But do you like that?
I do like it actually. I got one of those good. I got a good last name for it.
Yeah. Hey, Testa.
It's
How
Testa,
are you?
which you know what it means in Italian.
Oh, you've told me, but what is for
Head.
everyone that's forgotten,
Head.
but not
So basically,
me.
people said, "Hey, head," you know that kind of thing.
Head. Testa's head.
Testa means head.
So you're Michael
Yes.
Head.
So you see like a Testarossa, or it's a redhead.
Hey. So actor's agenda, not only learning how to about the acting industry, but you're learning about Italian culture and words. And that was an okay act. I give
Yeah, it
myself
was
a,
not really good.
I see a
don't do that.
C
Stop-
minus.
stop that right away.
Yeah, stop that right now. So you are the first casting director
I.
on the pod.
Great.
I just started the pod, and
Yes, congratulations.
Thank you very much. I think I have my sea legs now, and I think I'm excited for this interview. I think that listeners will get a lot out of it. But I also think that it's too narrow just to call you a casting director. You're also a writer, you're a producer, you are an acting coach, and you teach acting classes. So
Online.
I think we're gonna just. It's only online. Your classes are only online. Yeah,
mean,
you're like, I'm not gonna travel.
No, you know what it is? It's just I feel like today in today's world, because almost everything is done online, even auditions, that it's sort of working within the realm that's happening now. Mm-hmm. You know, I think if it ever goes back full force in person auditions, I don't know.
Well, I was gonna get to that, but we can jump right in because
right in
that's
wherever you wanna
that's
start.
really that's something that is, it's a topic for debate among actors and I think everybody, but I want to get your opinion on it. How do you feel about a post-COVID entertainment world where most auditions are now online?
I have mixed feelings about it, but I think I'm leaning more towards actually the positive. I mean, I used to do self-tapes kicking and screaming. I used to hate them. But I think now as the more I've been doing them, the more I've been teaching about them, and the more post-COVID, so to speak, I think there's a lot of advantages for the actor. It's a little bit more work, but you also have a lot more control, or it backs up the control you do have as the actor.
Exactly. So more work being that we have to learn how to with lighting and editing and everything else.
Not only do you think like an actor, you have to think like a director. You have to think like a casting director. You have to think like a lighting technician. You have to think like a costume designer. You know, all that stuff sort of goes into it. But it's also one of those things once you have down,
it becomes easier
it becomes much easier
to do.
And it's always harder in the beginning.
And then the more control being you can do 10 takes. And
you can
don't
send
have
in
to
what you feel happy with.
Yeah.
Before in the room, you do an audition, and then you probably would leave if it was in front of producers, and then not, oh my God, I wish I did that. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. You know,
and I just love the freedom it gives you too.
And also freedom of time and schedule.
Freedom of time and schedule, because now I can do an audition at 6 p.m. at night when I'm done whatever else I have to do during the day and focus completely on the audition and the character. It's not
you're not spending 2 hours going across town to another.
Going across town and you have two auditions within an hour of each other and you're learning the lines for the other audition while you're in the waiting room for the first audition, and it's just kind of more hectic. I feel like the amount of control.
The key to that though is not to sort of think about them as, oh, I got to go put myself on tape. The key is, I got to go create a character. I got to go do a scene because sometimes the casualness of a self-tape lessens the importance of the performance.
Well, and I feel like self-tape or not, I feel like that's a good mindset to have as an actor anyway. It's not going in there to try to either, I'm going to just get this self-tape over with and that's it, or putting less importance because it's a self-tape, but also any audition, I think, is your opportunity to show your version of the character.
Oh yeah, of course.
In a very exciting way.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we used to have auditions in the room, that sort of adrenaline and that sort of sometimes fear of being sort of on the spot and being is actually good fuel for a performance. It adds some electricity, some excitement. You lose that sometimes in self-tapes because you just, get up and you walk to your living room, and then, there's no one else around. You don't see your competition. Like I always tell my students, you don't audition in a vacuum. And it's very easy to think that way when you're doing self-tapes. You got to understand that you're not the only one sending in these self-tapes. There's actually a lot more with self-tapes, people that you have to compete with.
So what are some pointers that you give your students, your acting students, to sort of maintain that energy, or to...
Don't think of it as I go at home, I have to go home, or I have to go put myself on tape for this. I have to go perform. I have to go create a character, all that kind of stuff. The first 10, 15 seconds of your audition are the most important.
Yeah.
Because any casting director says that they look at all the self-tapes all the way through, they're just lying.
How do you feel? Yeah, they don't. They only look for the first.
Yeah.
I love to tell, when I teach acting classes, or even just have a conversation with other actors, I say, if I could go back and give myself a piece of advice, I would say to always have a moment before and always be as creative as possible with my moment before. And I feel like that's especially true with self-tapes, because because your moment before, if you're in the audition room, it's just a private moment or a thought or an action or something that you give yourself that is in line with the character, that a lot of times is not even on the page. It's just you're giving yourself that one thing to start the scene, and it gets you out of your head, and it gets you into the environment, and it gets you out of what's my first line?
Exactly.
And
also have a clear objective.
Yeah.
What is because that adds extra fuel to whatever you're doing.
Yeah. And I like that objective, to my moment before, to have something to do with that objective. And I think especially on self-tapes, if you even admitted, a lot of times casting will watch the first 10, 15 seconds.
Well, it's not that. What I do when I watch self-tapes, and I actually watch less of the self-tapes of people I like, in a really weird way, because I feel like, once I kind of sometimes I identify a marker within the self-tape, within the scene, that I go, okay, that person gets it, or they don't, or and then I kind of skip it. If I feel like somebody's really good and then they get that point and they're right on what I'm looking for, then I'm like, okay, I don't see anymore. They're fine. But if somebody doesn't, I kind of give them a little extra to see if they can sort of get to what I need. So it's in a really weird way. Again, I do look at the people that I enjoy, or I'm going to pass on further, less than the people that don't quite give me what I'm looking for at that moment.
How, in terms of a numbers game now with what the industry is, if you're casting a guest star role on a network show, I know it used to be, you get a certain amount of auditions, and then like a certain amount of submissions from agents, managers with headshots, and then you whittle that down to a certain amount of callback
to bring it to
auditions, and then callbacks, and then producer sessions or network session, whatever it is. What do those numbers look like nowadays?
Well, again, I'll preface it by what everybody's different, and every casting director is different. What I like to see a lot of people. I always have. I mean, my associates and assistants would come to me when we were doing in-person auditions. They would literally, every time I pick some people to set up, they're like, you just physically can't see that many people. It's impossible. You'd have to see a person every minute, So I'm like, fuck. But with self-tapes, episodic, God, I haven't done an episodic in about 5 years, but I'd say you get like 25 to 3,000 submissions based here in Los Angeles. You whittle that down to, per role, depending on the role, it varies up and down. And then you whittle that down to self-tapes. I'll probably send out like 100 to 200 appointments for the first self-tape, and then send off 5 or 6 of them per
Okay, so 2,500 to 3,000 submissions. And then you accept.
I send out like 100 to 200 appointments for the initial self-tape.
Appointments. And then of those, you will pass along.
Probably 5 or 6 for each
5 or 6 for each role.
Right.
So if anybody's listening and you are getting auditions, you are already in the top 10%.
Yeah.
And you already need to feel like that is a win. Because you're getting 3,000 submissions, and you're only
exactly.
and you're only
and
accepting
I think,
at that 100.
And I think, as you probably found out as an actor or a lot of actors have noticed once self-tapes or once the pandemic, you got probably a lot more auditions because people can see you more. I can see more people. So the number of auditions has probably gone up. Also, with the double-edged sword of that is that your competition is bigger.
Your competition is bigger. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I get that and I feel that, and you're absolutely right. I've had many more auditions. I mean,
And now with films, it being sort of spread out now in the industry, is I find myself looking across the country more, and so then you also have that added extra competition for
all that
actors
competition.
and whatnot.
So you have to be to your first point of this entire interview. You have to with self tapes.
You have to make a mark for yourself. Yeah.
Make a mark for yourself and take it seriously every single time because the competition is higher than ever.
And I know a lot of actors probably going, they're hearing that and going, and how do you make your mark, or that's sort of an intangible thing based on your personality and whatnot. So, I always say play your auditions to self tapes to the one person behind the camera and really kind of connect with them. And I think that's also a way to sort of connect with the viewer of the tape. It could be as something as offhanded as a flair of wardrobe. That makes it memorable. Oh, remember that actress with the red scarf that was...
How do you feel about multiple takes? Because I
hear...
What?
I hate them.
You hate multiple takes?
I do, and here's why. In fact, I got through some of the students. Unless I'm asking for them, I don't send in one take, because at a practical level, it's double the work.
For you?
For me, because I'm sort of... I grew up Catholic, so I have a lot of unresolved guilt. So I'm like, oh my God, they send in 2 takes. I have to watch at least part of the 2 takes. I'm that person, and then it just extends the time.
Yeah. I always say that if it's a guest star role, or if it's a role or series regular role or whatever, and the audition itself is 8-10 pages, then I'm only doing it once. But if it's a quick audition and it's only like 1 or 2 pages,
also here's how I feel about it in the much more creative sort of actor way. I also think that sending in 1 takes really sort of starts making you believe in your ability and start backing up. You have to stand behind your audition and what it was. And I always feel like when somebody sends in 2 auditions, they're being very wishy-washy about what they do. You want this or do you want that? And so it doesn't make myself feel like you're confident and strong in your abilities. And no, this is what I'm doing.
Okay.
And I hope it jives with what you want.
Okay.
But if it doesn't, okay, move on to the next one.
Can I say that it depends on the role? Because there are some roles that are, if it's a bit unclear.
You could say that, but you can't assume that the people watching the tapes feel the same way.
Okay. So
that's why I always say only send in 2 takes, and I've done it just I think twice or 3 times in my long career. Send in 2 takes, one being this way, one sort of being that way.
Okay.
If that happens, I'm very specific about what I want done.
Okay, fair. And I'll say this, above all, always just read the instructions, because
yes, exactly.
99.9% of the time the office will tell you what they want.
Right. And in regards to self-tape too, the instructions are important, but I don't like, I always have found sometimes, a lot of times from casting, these instructions with self-tapes suck the creativity out of a performance on tape, because I like movement. I think I love how actors embody a role, how they move. I think it's all part of developing a character and whatnot. And sometimes the instructions sort of suck the life out of that. And I get why they're doing it, but it doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, I remember when you used to come to my office a lot when I had the office, I used to mark a big square on the floor with tape and say, there's your space. You can do whatever. I don't care. You climb the wall, do whatever F you want in that space. But if you go outside the line, the camera just can't get you.
Yeah.
So, and then I love all that stuff.
I do miss a little bit of that freedom. It's just using the space in the room.
But you can do that with self-tapes. I mean, honestly, you can, unless somebody tells you not to.
Yeah.
And I do. And here's the thing about self-tapes that everybody seems forgetting. Whenever you kind of, this is my own philosophy on casting, and I'm sure you're going to get some casting directors call you up and go, hey, he's an idiot. But
how do you know I don't get that already?
I want to see the self-tape industry sometimes has been set up, I think, to really kind of just make everybody these sort of automatons and you get the same performance.
That's a good point.
I am telling you, without a shadow of doubt, from my experience, the actors that stand out are people who do different things with a self-tape.
Yeah.
Or take chances and just do some
Well,
fun
didn't
stuff.
Barry Keoghan, didn't he dress up as Joker to audition for Joker? He went full makeup.
And they gave him the Riddler.
And they gave him the Riddler instead. They were like,
Right.
we're not for this.
Listen,
But
when you're at that level, taking chances
is maybe a little less scary.
But again, if you start thinking that way earlier on, then you will always have that thinking and always have the desire and discovery. I mean, I just posted something from Jack Nicholson saying, discover, do something, and there's always take two. And with self-tapes, there is always take two within your own thing. So do it.
Yeah.
And I always say too, get one over the top, whatever you call it, wacky take out of the way. Get it out of your system. And you may be able to find something and go, oh, God, that really sucked. That one portion was really cool.
I know some actors like to get into it. I always love to tape the first take because I might find something in there.
I'm not saying don't tape it.
No.
Right.
Saying, but I do. What I'm saying, as an extra to what you just said, I agree with everything you just said. As an extra, I would also tape the first one so I can. Sometimes I like to watch it back. Sometimes I don't. It just, I guess, depends on my mood. But there might be something interesting that you find when you're genuinely becoming comfortable with the lines, genuinely getting it in your body, and genuinely listening to the other person.
Right.
There's something very nice and free and grounding about that.
And casting for me is also a lot of times personality based. When you meld the personality sometimes of an actor and their ability with a character, it kind of works out, 100% in what you want. Personalities are hard to transfer over self-tapes. So I get hundreds of really nice tapes. They're not, and they're good. I actually tend to like more people off of self-tapes because everybody's pretty good. And always, but it's somehow through whatever you do, how you move, whatever you show some sort of personality or some sort of gumption. It's fine. Listen, I always use this example and I'll use it again. It's like if you have a leak in your faucet, right, at home, you call up 5 plumbers to come look at it. If all 4 of the plumbers there are like, oh yeah, it's a leak, and yeah, I can fix that. And the 5th guy comes in and goes, yeah, you got an effing leak. I'll fix it in 2 seconds. You're going with that guy because number one, he has a little personality, and also too because there's a confidence that he conveyed in what he was doing, and that confidence, the confidence and the joy of what you do, is essential to a self-tape. It makes people want to like you. I can spot somebody on a self-tape is like, oh, they don't want to be, they're not into this.
They're not into it.
They're not into it.
So finding ways to, even if you don't connect with the character, even if you don't like the material, finding ways to at least be passionate about the performance,
and the technique,
and also it's a respect thing too because you're calling them in to audition. If they don't want to audition that bad, they shouldn't send in a tape.
Yeah, I get that. But I mean, I'm not that precious about all that stuff. I don't think we need to. It's a trait that we do in real life. People are more attractive when they love what they do.
Yeah,
they just are. You meet somebody on the first time at a party, something like that. You find out they're a lawyer and they're passionate about what they're talking about. They're automatically much more interesting than somebody who goes, yeah, I'm a lawyer.
Yeah,
it doesn't. So it's just it's harder to translate on a self-tape than in person. But you can translate it. And I think it's an important part of it. Yeah, find the ways to do that.
Smart. Okay, so I know you, and we're friends. And no, but I just for those
he really
that
doesn't.
don't for those listening and watching,
never
that
met
don't,
him before in my life.
Yeah, don't make me call you Mike. Don't make me. All right, so for Testa over here. No,
I like he keeps doing that. I've never sounded that way in my entire life. Ever.
It's me. This is
even
more
when
about
I was
me.
back in Newark, New Jersey. Never.
Any opportunity to do a bad accent. Okay, so Michael Testa.
Yes.
You have cast over 70 films and TV shows. You've been doing this for over 18 years. Do I want to?
I started in casting in 1990.
Wow.
So I did the whole intern, assistant,
Wait, 90,
associate thing.
30, is that 34 years?
Yeah. Do you have to really do the math right now?
I did.
I
usually I can't do the math, so I was proud that I did.
Yeah, you
the
did
math.
realize it's pretty good.
Thanks.
34 years ago. But yeah, so yeah, I've been in casting for 34 years.
Yeah, you've been
in some capacity.
casting for my
I mean, the first week I was like, huh? What? I don't even know. What, no.
for my entire life.
What is this?
No, it's been great. Okay, you were a casting director for TV shows such as Roswell, Cold Case,
The
Make It or
original
Break
Roswell.
It, the original OG Roswell.
Yes.
Cold Case, Make It or Break It for ABC Family, Ringer with Sarah Michelle Gellar, who I love, Love and Sex, Stitchers.
Those are movies. Well, Love and Sex is a movie.
Love and Sex is a movie. Oh, well, I'm not trusting your online bio anymore. Stitchers is not. Stitchers is a show.
Stitchers is a
and
freeform
then Living
television show.
Biblically was a pilot.
It was a CBS pilot.
Right,
Yes.
okay.
I just did the pilot. Did not do the actual show,
So Love, and then
which
your
we won't get into.
feature films include, we'll move Love and Sex to this category. Love and Sex, Buddy Boy, A Deadly Adoption, starring Will Ferrell and
Right,
Kristen Wiig.
which was a telemovie for Lifetime because that was a unique
Yeah, and that was
journey
interesting,
event.
right?
Yes,
to
it
have
was.
actors like Kristen Wiig and Will Ferrell.
Well, it was Will Ferrell
on a
idea.
it was Will Ferrell's what?
idea.
To
And-
do a Lifetime movie.
yeah.
Okay.
That was the whole thing. That was really fun. I knew the producer of it. Apparently he had an obsession, or still does, obsession with Lifetime movies, and he wanted to do one. And the whole premise was, number one, we couldn't let people know that he was doing it right off the bat. So it was a very kind of, we had actors, before we gave actors offers, they had to sign NDAs, as did their agents and whatnot.
Wow.
And his whole philosophy was that he wanted people to like come home drunk or sort of a little buzz on a Saturday night after like having a night out, come home and flip on the TV and then see him and Kristen Wiig's also in it.
Yeah.
Him and Kristen like in a Lifetime movie and go, what?
Wait.
What is
love
like
that.
what's happening? Like that was the whole thing. And we almost pulled it off all the way, like very, very secretively.
And what happened? Somebody
Well,
found it?
no, I guess somebody leaked it from his previous agency. I won't get into the details. Apparently, again, this is all speculation, but they leaked it. But they also leaked it on April Fools.
Oh, so some people
So
didn't
some
believe
people
it.
didn't believe it. And then
that's kinda great
And then he
marketing.
came out like and played with it. It's like apparently like, oh no, that's not true. Or oh no, we did it, but it's not airing. We're not going to air it.
Okay.
Which then sent, I think some of the executives of Lifetime like into a tizzy because they're like, what?
Yeah.
This is, because it was a big thing, and then finally did. And apparently it's still, I think I heard him on a podcast, but from South by Southwest, I think about 4 years ago, a television, about television. And this is still one of his favorite projects.
Wow.
Yeah. And he
That's
plays it
cool.
straight.
Yeah.
And it's really bizarre. Some people either love it or they hate it because they can't decide what it wants to
Do
be.
you hear that,
So-
folks? If you do a Lifetime movie, Will Ferrell might be watching you right now. Because you said he was. Because
Apparently, he really. I don't know. I don't know.
It's kind of like when James Franco did a soap. He was like,
I
just
put him
wanna-
on Hollywood Heights.
I just want to do a soap. Wait, no, but wasn't he also?
He was on General Hospital.
General Hospital. I didn't know you put James on.
Yeah, he was on
Heights.
Hollywood Heights. He did. I think.
So
he
you're
did.
the reason, because that was before.
No. That was after, and that all started. Apparently, again, from here, that started sort of like a bet because his manager at the time was also the manager of a very big soap opera actor named Steve Burton, who's quite wonderful and very nice. And they were at some party, and I guess Steve said, "Oh, you can never do what I do because it's a different animal." And soap operas, as it's a tough thing with the memorization and all that stuff. And he's like, "I could do it in 2 seconds flat," there. And then it's like, "Well, come on the show." He's like, "Okay," and that's how that all kind of started.
Wow.
But James Franco, I don't think maybe Steve. I think James Franco has like a photographic memory or something like that. So
That's what I've heard.
And
That's
so
what I've heard.
he
can memorize just.
But
like,
James Franco, and he's very memorable because I remember years ago, before he was even, I think he was at the time, he was apparently working like at McDonald's or something like that. I was obsessed with him for this one movie, and we finally made him the offer, but then he got offered some like ABC miniseries, like, the Coach with Craig and Coach Goes to Rome or something. I don't even know what it, but something like that. And it was like the difference of him making like $1,500 and him making like, $60,000.
Yeah.
So at that time it was like, but he remembered that movie and he was so gracious and nice because he had to pull out
Okay.
because he knew that I was really pushing for him.
So
to do this movie.
you almost discovered James Franco.
I hate when I do kind of hate when people say you discover that because it's not that. I think people discover themselves. We just open the doors or give them opportunities to do that, but we never discover
All right, so
people. I
I'll-
don't like
I'll
that
adjust.
term.
You almost opened the door for James Franco.
I know I gave him an opportunity. He took it, and it didn't quite happen the way he wanted or I wanted. But it wasn't like I discovered him. That phrase always bothered me.
Okay, I promise not to use it for the rest
I get
of the
used a lot. And I understand why people use it. It's just for me,
Well, for me, I mean, I never want to minimize the amount of work it goes into to maintain in this career, and also to be an actor that trains themselves to bring great performances to auditions and to roles. Like, I never want to ever minimize that. I do think that there is something nice about casting directors. I do know casting directors that are passionate about giving people their first opportunity, because they think, oh, this person is untapped. They've been working on their craft for years, working on, what they bring to these characters. I want to be the one to take the time to find them and to give them an opportunity.
right.
So that's what I mean by
it's always
discovery.
based on the fact that they're the best person for the role, and at that moment,
Of course, yeah.
You know,
but
because-
I didn't want to make it sound like an egotistical thing, like, oh, I'm collecting little discoveries. But I do know
No,
people
but it
that
can very easily translate that, because
Yeah,
there
okay.
used to be a casting director
Fair.
who used to run a very big studio, who was like, what she would do was she would meet everybody. Like if you did like a shampoo commercial for Finesse or something like that, she'd like, oh, let's meet that girl. And then if that girl ever hit on something, she'd go, oh no, yeah, I discovered her. That was sort of her like MO.
well, that, for the record, that was not the category I was putting.
No, but yeah.
Okay, let me finish this real quick, and
Sorry.
then we can jump
See,
into
I
the
can
next
talk.
thing.
I
No,
talk.
you can
I
talk,
talk a
and
lot.
that's why we love you. You did the recent Lionsgate film Invitation to a Murder, the Netflix films Love in the Villa,
Love in the Villa?
Only Mine,
I love Love in the Villa. It's
Falling in Love, in with two N's, like a little hotel, and the Christmas movies Dashing in December and A Nashville Christmas for
Yeah,
Paramount.
Paramount.
You're also a fantastic cook, and you have a
Thank
cute
you.
little dog named Luigi.
Name Luigi. It's my pride and joy, my Luigi.
Yeah.
I tear up every time I think about him.
You sweat?
I tear up every time I think about him.
Why?
Because he's so great. He really is. So
I think he's so great. I think he's fantastic. So, speaking of not even discovering, but first opportunities, the way we
Jennifer
met,
Lawrence?
I think, Hollywood Heights, but before that, you
I
had
thought you were
me
talking
in,
about Jennifer Lawrence.
Oh, no. But, okay, I didn't even know that. We'll get to that. The way that we met was you had me in for, I think it was Make It or Break It, right?
I think so, yeah.
That was the first one, and it was in the room, and I think
That was at the Warner's lot.
it was the same Warner Brothers lot, same day callback. I did it, and then you're like, all right, go in the lobby and come back in 5 minutes. This is what I want you to focus on. You're like, I want you to breathe, because early on I would just
Big note of mine.
yeah. You said breathe and just throw it all away and just relax and be present and just talk to me like you're having a normal conversation. Which, saying it now, just seems so obvious,
Right, doesn't it?
But back then,
yeah, no, it's one thing that people, new actors just don't think about.
yeah, just don't think about having the self-awareness to say, I am breathing differently than a normal human being right now, and I am saying things I'm putting on a performance
Right.
rather than
Instead of
just being
just
a
being.
real human being. And it was one of my light bulb aha moments that I've had throughout my career, and you gave me one of the first ones. It's like, just take the pressure off. It's a performance, but all you're doing is just being this character, or your version of this character, in front of somebody else. And then if they give you notes, you adjust, and if they don't, then you say have a nice day,
you leave.
and you leave, and you sort of took a lot of the pressure off of it for me, and that was like a really nice
Because
moment.
I think the pressure is a lot of times just self-made in actors' minds. In other words, I get the pressure, the quote unquote pressure of it, and the idea if this happens, that could happen. You know, all the money, the whatever, the role, the working opposite, whoever. I get all that, but it's also that's white noise. The only thing important is what you do in that room or on the tape and sending it in. And I know there's this weird thing like actors want to be liked by everybody, and I get that thing. But at the end of the day, who cares if somebody hates you or doesn't like you? I always say, I think I might have told you, like if I don't like an actor, there's plenty of actors I don't like. I respect what they do. I just don't like them former actors, and they're probably super nice people. But who cares? I'm not casting every freaking TV show or movie.
And for you also, it's about who brings what you need for the role.
all the time, right?
I mean, you talked about it earlier. It's just the numbers. It's a numbers game now. It's like you're seeing so many submissions, and then you're seeing so many self-tapes. You want somebody to walk into the room or to send you a self-tape and be perfect for the role. Because
Right.
that makes your life easier.
It makes my life. I want to cast it the minute I get something. I want to cast it the next day. I want to be done.
You want to be done, and then you move on to the next project
move on to the
and
next
something
project.
else.
Or no, or just somebody. I mean, I love my work, but I don't like to. No one likes to work. Who does? I mean, we always like if we all could just go lounge on a beach in Kauai. We like that's what we would do. Who are we kidding? But it's yeah. I want to hire everybody, and even just on a normal human basis. I mean, I wish I had for each role, for each submissions on a movie like 200. I wish I had 200 roles I could hire everybody for.
Mm-hmm. But
you don't.
But you can't.
You can't.
So you are encouraging and you are rooting for everybody to do the best possible job to make your life easier. Which I think a lot of newer actors, especially, they are intimidated by casting directors because they think that they're these ethereal gatekeepers that are judging them negatively the whole time. And it's like, no, they are human beings with a job to do.
Listen, to be honest, there are some, who are you kidding? I mean, there are some very negative casting directors out there. I mean, no, there really are. I mean, listen, I've dealt with them.
True.
I've gotten into fights with them. I'm not fist fights. Well, almost. But no, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, and I always say the least we owe actors, especially when we meet them in a room, but the least we owe actors, even when we watch them on self-tapes, is, what's the phrase? I forgot the phrase, is false likability. Like we even if we're lying, say, oh my God, that was good. Even if we're lying, that's the least we owe them. In no way is our job to make an actor uncomfortable or feel less themselves or feel, insecure about their abilities.
At
It's
least
not.
to create an environment where they're at least allowed and feel welcome to bring a good performance.
And I may not like what you do, but it's my job to fake it.
And well, you're not going to root against them before they even start.
No, not at all. And listen, we all have bad days. I'm not saying that I achieve that every single day of my casting life. No, there's been times where I know some people walk away, go, oh my God, that guy was a real prick. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know, I know. And I happened to be human. I probably was in a bad mood that day.
Yeah.
And as you know, I don't hide my emotions very well. I wear them right on my sleeve. So if I'm having a bad day, everybody around me knows it.
Yeah.
It's just the way I
mean,
am.
we're humans. So
we're humans, exactly.
To that point, you're a human being.
But I'm conscious of that. And Catholic guilt kicks in. If I'm ever like that, I feel really guilty then afterwards. Mm-hmm. I'm maybe not aware I'm doing it at the moment, but then I'm aware of it afterwards. I'm like, oh my God, that poor actor. What I might have put her or him through. And I got to call it back in for something. I got to give me.
Well, I'm grateful for you because you, the first time I tested for Hollywood Heights was for you.
Yes.
And that was it was the first time I had tested for anything. I think maybe I had tested for...
It was the brother role, wasn't it?
For Days of Our Lives, maybe before that, or one of the soaps. But I think it was the first network show.
It was for Brittany's brother.
Soap. I think it was for Brittany's brother.
Yeah.
And you had me in. And for anybody listening, watching that doesn't know, so it's typically an audition, and then it's a callback, and then it's either a producer session or they just send your tapes to producer director and you cast you for a feature right off the tape maybe or in the room. But then for a network show, they'll test you against other actors in front of network executives or whomever might be.
Right. A lot of times they send in the tape, and I think on this one we did for it was Nickelodeon, and it
was in person. I went in person.
Was the network there?
Maybe.
I think you came in. I remember. I think you came in for the executive producers.
Correct.
And then we sent over the
happened.
tapes to the network because as later in this sort of quote unquote testing process, a lot of studios, instead of gathering all this executives in one room and time and schedule wise, we would just put people on tape.
The tapes.
And then they would schedule
and then also
look the
makes
tapes
sense
together.
too, because they can talk about it together, like you're saying, it's more flexible. But also, they will see people in person sometimes look different than they do on camera.
Yes.
Right. So they know what they're buying if they're receiving the tapes.
I think with how things are filmed and taped right now, that sort of has whittled away a little bit. I think you kind of really see what you get. It's the personality that sort of, and that's why you see a lot more actors, quote unquote, have been fired for like table reads on pilots or new shows because they just hired them off a tape, and then all of a sudden they get into a room and it's like, oh, that person's much different than when I I thought.
So if an actor is going in for a table read, do you think that they should? Because I know some creatives, directors, executives. Well, I'll put them in different categories. There's directors, writers, and then there's sometimes executives are not creatives, but they're just about what the network wants. Not to say that they're all like that, but I feel like, would you say if an actor's going in for a table read, should they lean into the character a little bit?
Yeah, well, that's a very tricky thing because there's lots of theories behind that. I think nowadays you have to give a little something. You don't want to give it all because then that may not be what you want to do, but you can't. It so varies. I mean, I know friends who, because table read you have to be invited to. Mm-hmm. Because if you are forced to go to a table read, it sort of begins employment per SAG. So you have to sort of be invited to a table read. I know actors, and one of us, very well, just won't go to table reads in fear of getting fired. So they just say, "Oh God, I'm sick," that whatever that is, so they won't go.
Interesting.
And whenever you hear any executives come up to you, if you're ever at the table, no, we're not looking for a performance. We just want to hear the words. They're looking for something.
Absolutely.
And it varied. When I was doing Roswell, Jason's acting the way he did was his character was very low key in his delivery, but he, when he went to table reads, he gave very little because he wanted to save it up, I think, for what he was doing, and so he never really let it out. And so everybody was like, "What's he doing? What's going on?" And blah blah blah. But that was just the way he did that kind of stuff. Table reads are very interesting. Things.
We could talk about. I have a love-hate relationship with table reads. I just did a table read last week for a film that I'm shooting next month in Joshua Tree, and I loved it because everybody just showed up being like, "Hey, we still might make some changes to the script. Let's just see what you bring here. Let's just talk about the roles." And half the table read, it was more like a work session.
Film table reads are a lot easier.
It was
than network.
I enjoyed it much. Yeah,
the worst. Always the worst are freaking pilot table reads before the pilot because everybody at a network and studios were so focused on that one first episode because it potentially meant millions and millions of dollars for them if it went
so the pressure's
right.
on for
so
them.
So the pressure was super on. And I'm trying to think if I ever fired somebody from a table read. Yes. Well, one was an associate, so I don't count that. But I've been lucky with the table reads, but I know plenty of people have been fired from table reads.
Wow.
Yeah.
What about I can't jump to the next thing until you tell me you finished the Jennifer Lawrence.
No. I gave Jennifer Lawrence, I think it was her second job ever. It was definitely her second TV job. I mean, she was on Monk, and she was like 14 at the time. And
okay.
And
so this is before Winter's Bone. This is
for Cold Case. I did teach her with Cold Case. She played a really good guest spot. She played her mother and her. They lived in a car. They were homeless, and then the mother dies, and she grows up, and it's the premise of the show. But I forgot that I did, and I hired close to 3,000 actors on that show over the 4 years that I did it, and I went to go see Hunger Games, and I liked it. I loved her. I saw Winter's Bone before, but and I just loved her in Hunger Games, and I very rarely post about movies and performances in movies. But I just said I posted something on Facebook or somewhere. I was like, "Oh God, it's so great to see a studio movie held by an actress, a teenage actress that you can't think of this movie without her. Like if she wasn't in this movie, it would be nowhere near as good." I just made that post, and so then the director of the episode she was in messaged on the post saying, "Oh God, we have good taste." I'm like, I don't understand. What are you talking about? He goes, "We hired her." So we did. Wow. I went, and he says, "Oh, it was $1 a dream." I'm like, "Oh my God, yes!" And then it all came flooding back. I tend to remember people by what I put them in,
okay,
or who they're represented by, more so than sort of their face.
So Michael, you basically discovered.
Yes, I discovered Jennifer Lawrence. No, she was, and I do remember what she had, which it was a very common denominator with a lot of actors who make it, especially a lot of actors who make it sort of into that league, so to speak, is that I do remember her. I remember specifically the pre-read, talking to her about coming to the Oakwood that used to her parents it was pilot season when we did the episode, and you could just tell she loved it. She loved what she did. She loved what she did.
Yeah, and I think she still carries that. And I feel like now
she definitely
I feel like she's having this renaissance moment where she's taking on all these roles.
She's also doing what she wants to do.
That she wants to do. Yeah, these characters that she wants to play.
Which is a great position to be in.
Yeah.
It's also a very dangerous position because sometimes you're not the best judge of what you need to do.
Yeah, I feel like she's done good so far.
I mean, I don't know. That one movie she did was with the R-rated comedy. It was like,
It was hilarious, and she
was all right.
went for it. I think she was fantastic.
she was great in it, but the movie itself wasn't.
So, question, and I've always been fascinated about this with you and with other casting directors. That just seems you seem like you have this encyclopedia upstairs. I mean, today we walk into this podcast studio. You walk in, and immediately you know this person because he's an actor, and you know him from years ago, and you just start having this conversation. And I feel like you have 1,000,001 names in your brain.
Not so many much names, but like just essence, energy, and faces. And
Okay.
whatnot. Like, you know, the minute I saw him, I knew I recognized him and from somewhere, and I couldn't quite place it. And then he mentioned one name, and I'm like, oh my God, then it all came back.
Yeah.
So
do you
it's,
keep
I've always
files?
been like that.
Do you have files of like?
I've never kept files.
You never kept files because I know casting directors that have files for different
it's so
age groups and
ridiculous.
different.
So ridiculous.
You think so?
I do because it's casting is ever changing and evolving, and people ever change and evolve. You don't stay 10 to 15 years old your whole life. So it's sort of an organic moving thing for me, and so I never wanted to sort of stop that flow. Even in the back in the day, when I started with the pictures, the big pictures and resumes, that's all you knew people. And I knew casting directors who had like walls of files of pictures, and half of them were like 6 years old. I'm like, that is not the same person as of 6 years ago.
Okay, so files are only good if you keep them updated.
Right. Well, but it's also too. It's like. I think today we have natural files. We have like Facebook and Instagram.
So
I never go looking at those kind of places, but people I get reminded of people.
So let me tell you this. I mean, we as human beings can only be reminded of so many people so often naturally without seeing them for a while. What is your opinion on actors either maintaining on social media or reaching out to you on social media?
I don't mind that. In fact, I think it's part of your job to reach out to casting people. I'm going to get inundated with a bunch of casting directors saying, "Why did you say that?" It's part of the job. Who cares?
I think it's a respect thing, right?
Yeah,
if somebody's doing it in a
if
way,
I'm on social media and you're on social media, there's even playing field. You can request. I don't have to accept. But you can request. Why not? You should. I had a very vague acquaintance years ago who I had coffee with one time, and he was from Chicago. And what he did was, and that time Facebook was the thing. And he's like, I sent out like 150 like requests from like casting directors, producers, agents, blah, blah, blah. And he says, I got 6 back, right? I was like, oh. He goes, no. He says, that's 6 more than I had yesterday.
Yeah. Interesting.
And it's a numbers game. At the end of the day, too, when you start out, it also becomes a numbers game.
It's a numbers game, but I also think it's a respect thing. If you reach out to somebody and say, hey, I noticed you cast this.
No, but that's a different story. Okay, go ahead.
I was going to say, like, if you reach out to somebody and say, hey, I noticed you cast this. It's a martial arts show. Just to let you know, I have a black belt in karate. Bam. Short, simple. You're not taking over their whole day, but you're letting them know I'm out there, and this is a special skill set that pertains to something you're doing.
Great.
And you're approaching them like a human being and a colleague rather than
that's what you should be doing.
Hey, I'm just letting you know.
Yeah, there's a difference in how you approach, or like if I'm right for anything, please bring her in, or that's fine too. But like. Or the worst is though when you're casting something, somebody actually messages say, "Hey, can I be seen for this role?" Which happens like that sort of crosses a little bit of a line.
Okay.
Like I always tell my friends, listen, I will automatically assume I'm going to think of you for roles.
Okay.
Don't ask me to think about it.
Okay.
I'm a good enough friend or person or good enough at my job to consider you if you're right for something. Because I basically, man, I want to hire my friends. Like that's what I want to do. Why not? But don't assume that you need to be hired.
It's interesting. It's because I know other people. Agents and managers. I know that they get annoyed if you're like, "Hey, what about this? What about this?" And they're like, "Listen, assume that we got it."
In terms of like other projects. Yeah.
Well, other projects are just like, "Hey, I want to be in for this. I want to be in for this." And I remember early on, I would do that. And my manager would be like, "Mike, we are submitting you. Stop it."
Exactly.
Which is great. But I also have heard from casting directors that say, I don't want a social reach out. If you are right for something,
well, then it'll be on social media.
That's why we have social media. Yeah. But like if you are right for something, you can say, hey, just letting you know that I do karate, or hey, just letting you know that I do this, I do that. in a respectful, short, sweet way, but it makes more sense if it pertains to a certain thing that they're doing rather than just happy
Yeah, but also,
Sunday,
too,
blessings on
I think
blessings.
it's also casting director's job. I don't give a crap where an idea comes from.
Okay.
I don't care if you gave me the idea about yourself and it works. If it works, it works. I could care less where it comes from. Okay. That's the point of what I do, is to find somebody who's appropriate. So I don't care where I find it, as long as I find it.
So it is fine on social media for you.
Right, for me. I don't understand.
But know what other people want. Know what everybody else is.
Or understand that not everybody's going to respond the same way or in a positive way. And again, like when I start a project, I always get more requests on social media. I understand that. I get that. And I understand a lot of people that are only requesting me because of what I do. I'm not naive to that fact. But who cares? Like, who cares?
Yeah.
And social media is so easy anyway. Like, no, I'm not following you. Done. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like there's no.
Mm-hmm. So nowadays, I think with self-tapes and with the industry changing so much, what are some things that actors can do?
And a quick thing on that.
Please.
It's funny because it's like sometimes we're asking actors, we're isolating actors even more. You know what I'm saying? We're putting on self-tape. You're going over there. There's not going to be an interaction anymore. And that, Don't bother interacting with me on social media. Like, what?
Yeah, that's a good point. So with social media, there are sort of faux pas that are particular for certain casting directors, but you on social media, you're like, all right, the more the merrier, reach out and I can be my own firewall. What are some other things that actors can do nowadays with the industry as it is today? Because there are things that worked when you and I met, 10 years ago. There are things that work that don't work really anymore. When you first started back in 17, there are things.
In the 1700s. I'm actually like a vampire. I never age.
You would.
By the way, I do. I mean, who are we kidding? I turned 60 2 months ago.
No, but you look. I still owe you.
Mike owes me a birthday.
I still owe you a birthday dinner. I do. But okay, so what are some things that worked that are working currently now, aside from actors aside from the art form, aside from having your moment before, filling your self-tape with passion and energy, bringing your take to the character? What are other things that actors
it's also
can
social media, posting about some of the work you do. Sometimes I watch, I do watch some stuff. I don't watch most of the stuff all the way through because, my attention span is really short. So I have to really love whatever I'm watching in order for me to stay with it. If I kind of get it within the first 10 seconds,
okay,
I don't watch it,
okay,
but
fair.
I'll remember it.
And when you say socials, is that just Facebook? Is that Instagram?
No,
is that TikTok?
I'm a big. My personal thing is Instagram. You know me. I love Instagram. I don't know. I like looking at maybe voyeur, looking at people's lives and whatnot, but I want to do that. I'll just hit like. I don't even know what I'm hitting like to.
Okay.
And sometimes I got trouble why'd you like that post? I'm like, I don't know. I don't even know the person. Again, I have a lot of people that follow me and follow on social. I don't even know if I know 3/4 of them. I don't know 3/4 of them. So but I don't care. That's not social media is a way just to connect and or have opened the means to connect.
And I do like that you are not allowing social media to take control of your life. You're like, look, I'm a human being first. This is what I enjoy on social media. This is what I get out of it. And then I can use it for my job when I want to. I can turn it off.
And also to just be aware, whenever I have a job, I never go on social media looking for an actor. What happens is sometimes I'm just going through social media on my off time and I'm like, oh my God, what about Mike Manning for that role? Like, it reminds me.
That's why, that's on This Is Us. I was told that one of the reasons they brought me in is because I had just done a fitness post on Instagram, and the character had to be shirtless, and they were like, "Oh, this is one of the reasons that you got called in for this."
That's why I never understood actors like, I don't do social media. Well, guess what? It's here to stay.
I was that guy. I was so resistant to social media.
And it's not like
so
you have
long.
to. It's not like you're using that as your primary source of attention. It's an addendum. You can use it to a really, really good effect. I'm also a little just paranoid, and maybe I got FOMO. I don't know, but I'm sort of obsessed with posting one thing a day, at least just one thing a day, just because, this business is sort of transitory. It's, you remember it when you go to dinner, the first thing you remember is dessert because it's the last thing. So I kind of want to keep, and also too, when I'm not busy, give the illusion that I am busy because people like to hire people who are busy as opposed to not busy.
Okay.
And I just think that you have to be careful about it too, in terms of what you post and how you post, because as you know, perception is reality in this business. And sometimes, I had if you post every single day of you in a pink shirt, I'm going to be like, well, this guy owns,
That's
all he
the pink
owns is
shirt
the pink
guy.
shirt. He's the pink shirt guy. That's all he owns. And you're like, well, no, wait a minute. I own
I can
green
wear a
shirts.
black shirt if you
well,
want.
then let me know.
Fair.
So really if you're going to post about yourself, make sure it's stuff that you want people to see.
Yeah, that's fair. Treat yourself like a business and have a certain level. I think you can do. I mean, my philosophy is you can do whatever you want on social media if you are not an actor. If you are an actor, you have to cater your social media a bit.
I disagree with that. I think everybody has to sort of be careful about what they post on social media because there is sort of sometimes a lingering effect of stuff that could be bad.
Okay, fair. But I'm saying it is. I think we are more sensitive as actors or people in the public eye anyway. Because people are just looking for reasons to not hire you, to not like you, to ridicule
quite frankly,
you, to whatever else.
Maybe this may get me in a lot of trouble here, but I think one of the worst words ever enter the casting world is transparency. I don't need to know that you despise broccoli, or what. I don't care about that. I don't need to know every aspect of your political, social, religious beliefs. I honestly don't care, because if you're right for this role, and I need you, and you're freaking good, I'm going to need you. I want to hire you. I mean, all the other stuff. I mean, there's some things that, by the way, there's a little mysteries. Never kills anybody. Why not?
Amen to that. I love that. A little mystery never killed anybody.
Never killed anybody.
And it also takes the pressure off of you oversharing your entire life on social media with everybody.
And by the way, at the end of the day, no one cares. You know what I'm saying? I love you. I care about what you do. But the majority of people looking at your post don't care. People look at my post. They don't care.
They want to be
about me.
entertained. They want to relate a
Right.
little bit.
They
but
relate.
it's not...
I think we've also just cut out the mystery and the excitement of even the entertainment and what we're producing. Not everything has to have a fucking message. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you want to just go see a movie where people are shooting at you, riding horses, racing cars. You don't.
Well, see, and I would say I love infusing the things that I write and produce.
I love to write all that.
Infusing messages into them. But something that's really refreshing that I didn't expect from this conversation with you is that everybody's different and everybody has their own taste, and that's the beauty of entertainment.
That's the beauty of entertainment. And I'm not saying that entertainment should not have messages. In fact, there's a lot of movies that I enjoy that have messages. But I always find, especially as a writer, as I've done my writing, is I let the messages come out of the story. I'm not going to devise a story around a message. And when I think if you go into anything creative with trying to teach somebody something, you've lost a little bit of the magic of art. Because art, we can look at you and I can look at the same painting and get two different vibes from it.
Yeah.
Doesn't make either one invalid. I don't even care what the artist's intention was.
Yeah.
That doesn't matter.
It's just perspective.
Because art has a life of its own.
Well, art is subjective. And it depends on who's looking at it.
But it's not, I wrote a script years and years and years and years ago that the legendary actress Kim Stanley, if you don't know who Kim Stanley is as an actor, look her up and you'll be blown away. Somehow she got a role of it and she loved it, but she didn't like the ending. She saw it differently. I was like, well, I don't. You're absolutely right in your perspective, but I'm not changing it for you because of your lesson that wants to, and both points for me were valid. I was just happy that somebody got that out of my script. I was like, really? You got that out of that? Oh, wow. That's okay. Great. Wasn't my intention at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you, Kim Stanley.
Thank you, Kim Stanley. I think she's passed away. She has passed away.
Well,
she would have been,
Thank you in whatever realm you are currently existing right now.
Yeah. That's a really great, somebody should make a movie about that because her life was just really, her and Marlon Brando at the time were she was like the female Marlon Brando. And at the same time, she created the role of the heiress. I know I'm getting off on a tangent here. On Broadway, won a Tony for that, and she was just incredible.
Yeah, you're the reason I watched Rosemary's Baby and a bunch of other older films.
God, I love that movie.
Yeah. Okay. Before we get on another tangent,
an old movie.
No. Okay. So if you could
actually,
give, I love to end every interview like this.
Oh, is this like the actors? What is it? That actors like the five questions?
No. Just one thing. Just one question. Keeping it easy. If you could give any actor that is currently in the grind right now, or even thinking about entering this crazy business, if you can give them one piece of advice, or for you, if it's somebody listening that's interested in casting, I mean, however you want to frame it, what's one piece of advice you would give them?
make sure it's a career that you want to keep for the rest of your life. Expect ups and downs at no matter what stage of your career.
Yeah.
And you're going to have ups and downs, and you better love it.
And you better love it.
Because if you don't, I would say this about any profession in the world, but if you don't love it, don't do it. It's not worth getting up in the day and being miserable. It's not. Nothing
Amen.
is.
Amen. All right.
Is that it?
This is Mike Manning. This is the Actors Agenda. Today's special guest was Michael Testa. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
His one piece of advice: if a young Michael Testa is out there, if you don't love it,
By the way, no one wants this.
Don't do
want
it.
that. That was a disaster.
dare I ask you for your socials if people want to reach out?
I don't even know what my socials are. I'm as you know, I'm so technically not.
Yeah, I'm going to see.
Well,
if I
I
can do
have
this.
a Michael Testa casting.
I'm going to see if I can do this faster than you.
Michael Testa casting,
erased.
and then it's an M Testa 8. What is that? What is that one?
Okay, it's on Instagram. It's Michael Testa casting,
Right, that's that one, and the other one is Michael Testa 8.
and
right?
then Michael Testa. Yeah, that's it. Michael, your name, Michael Testa, and the number 8.
The number 8,
Perfect.
which is my favorite number.
All right, prepare to be.
Always has
Whenever
been.
this comes out, prepare to be flooded.
Oh, look at you! Oh, I'm that popular. Look at that.
So popular.
Puff, puff.
Thank you for being.
Thank
with us
you.
today.
No. By the way, everybody just know how incredible Mike's journey has been as an actor, and just to see you blow up and move on, and it's been really great.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
It's one of the highlights of casting is to track people's journeys, and so.
Oof. Aw, thank you.
So I'm tracking you. I'm like a stalker.
I've been trying to.
What's he doing now?
You guys, if I disappeared, check Michael Testa's dungeon first.
It's a work. More importantly, where are you taking me for dinner?
Okay, we're gonna get to that. Okay, well, now we're gonna go plan your birthday dinner. But
Okay.
thank you everybody for
Thanks,
tuning
guys.
in, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Make it a good day.
Hit me up on social media. Feel free. Bye.
It's the